Hi, welcome in Michael Stromile to Dinner with Key. Michael and I go way back. We started dancing together at Dallas Black, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
At Dallas Black Dance Theater. We went to Booker T. Washington High School for Performing and Visual Arts. We danced there. Michael was also in the repertory company at Booker T. Washington High School. So you would rush over from Booker T.
All the time.
To our Dallas Black Dance Theater rehearsals.
Yep.
You would start your day at like 8 a.m.?
8 a.m.
And then you would end your day at 10:30 p.m.
Dance nonstop.
Dance nonstop. With a few AP, chemistry, biology classes, English, English 2, whatever. Like, wow.
I was like, it was definitely a moment in time, I think, like, doing that stuff, like, getting up, having to do academics, doing all of my dance classes at Booker T, rehearsing at Booker T, and then running over to Dallas Black to catch the rehearsals there. I was, like, always kind of, like, I feel like I was, like, in this in-between space in my mind. Like, I could never just, like, settle in on one thing. Like, I always had to be on. Like, I was like, I'm here and now I'm there. Like, it was never, like, a moment of, like, oh, like, I can kind of, like, sit back on it. Like, I had to always kind of be 5 steps ahead.
Right.
I either was going to be 5 steps ahead or I was going to be 10 steps behind. So it's like always like this game of like, how much more on top of this can I be? And it was fun, and I was young, so I could do it. Like, I had the energy for it.
Right.
And like, but like thinking back on it now, I was like, that is actually crazy. Like,
that's crazy.
All
and as your friend, I knew that dance wasn't your whole life. Yeah. Like, it wasn't your world.
Right.
But it dictated so much of like what you were or were becoming.
Right.
And what you were doing.
Right.
That, like, you've always been interested in other things, but do you feel like all of that work has really paid off?
Yeah, I think the lesson actually came in the work, like not just dancing in and of itself, but the discipline that it takes to show up on time, to be prepared, to try to get ahead, to, even simple things of like getting all of my schoolwork done at school because I knew I had 7 hours of dance after my English class.
Right.
So I think the lessons, there were of course things that I learned dance-wise along the way and things about the art form itself, but the lessons were actually like the small little things of like, oh, being responsible is actually more than just knowing my 5, 6, 7.
Right.
Like, being responsible means I have to learn how to manage my time.
Right.
I have to learn how to set aside the right amount of time for everything in my life, whether that's dance, that's family, that's homework, that's like whatever it was in that situation. I had to really learn how to, take ownership of it and not let that slow me down and be like, okay, this is what I'm being faced with right now. And this is how I have to deal with it because I actually have to. Like, it wasn't like, back when we were dancing for Dallas Life, like there wasn't that choice of like, oh, I think I'm going to do this today. So, no, like we were on
schedule,
And we just did it because, we were passionate about it, but we knew like this was the work that we had to do.
Right.
So that, it was fun though. As much of a tiring experience it could have been at times, I think that the results and the benefits that we gained out of it were actually a lot more crucial to our development as artists.
I feel you.
As our development as just like people and like finding and figuring out who we are.
Right.
I feel like that took precedence more over than just getting the dance steps or just like getting like my leg up or, I really had the opportunity to kind of figure out who am I in this space,
Right. Yeah, I feel like that really came about under the direction of my co-write. Like, she really forced us, like, even in those moments and in those times where we felt like we were too young to emote the things that she was asking us to emote. Like, we were dancing about love, and we were dancing about heartbreak, we were dancing about trauma, we were dancing and, fighting for these relationships that we hadn't yet developed. But we were also dancing with really mature dancers.
Yeah.
I felt like at times maybe I was imitating a little bit. Like I was able to like watch what was going on, and then the choices that other artists were making, and then I was like, I'm gonna try that thing. But Nicole always called us out when she felt like it was fake.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think it just is really credited to the fact that we've always had people around us and people leading us who had so much experience in life and in dance to where they could kind of simultaneously guide us as artists and as, grown people too. Like we had the, I think, incredible opportunity of not only having artistic mentors, but those same people are also giving us lessons in how to walk our own path in our lives.
So I see you over there just munching away. How is that cauliflower?
I told you that barbecue sauce really does it in.
It tastes like what?
Like pure chicken. Fried chicken. I'm like, I feel like I shouldn't be eating it, but then I'm like, oh, it's just cauliflower.
Right.
No, it's great.
This is a vegan meal and my first vegan meal.
I love it.
I'm like excited about eating it. But all right, back to dinner with Key. A different kind of food for the brain. Here we go. So you leave Booker T. Washington High School. You go to Juilliard.
Yep.
You graduate from Juilliard in 2018 from the dance department.
Right.
And now you're at Boston Ballet. What was that like? Just like leaving Juilliard and going right into Boston Ballet.
I think it definitely was a whirlwind, for sure. I think that leaving any sort of institution or school setting and then going into like an actual professional setting is always going to be a change, because in school you have the leisure and the comfort of having those people really kind of guard you, and like it's a really, really safe space. And then you realize like, oh, I'm in the real world now, and I have to kind of like figure certain things out by myself, and that same kind of, you're not really supported in the same way that you were in school.
Right.
Yeah.
At Juilliard, was that a predominantly white space?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was the only African American male in my class, and at Juilliard they accept 12 girls and 12 guys every year. So there was an African American girl who was also in the class, and then there was me. So there was 2 of us out of the 24. So then that left 22. I mean, not all white people in our class. I mean, there were people of other races and cultures, but I mean, it definitely is for the dance division, I would say, a predominantly white space.
Yeah. Did you feel like they were trying to... Did you feel like they saw you? Like how Dallas Black kind of like saw us. We had so many eyes on us.
Yeah.
We got a lot of attention.
Right.
And maybe it was because we were all brown bodies.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like we also had relationships.
Yeah. Right.
Do you feel like teachers in that institution they saw you and they were eager to build a relationship with you?
I think that happened eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in most spaces that I go into, which actually end up being more predominantly white spaces,
right.
I always end up in those kinds of spaces. But I felt like when I first got to Juilliard, I feel like there are always going to be eyes on brown bodies for one reason or another. Like when you first enter a space, I feel like it's a little bit of, I have my eyes on you because you're a little bit of the odd one, you're a little bit different, and I'm trying to see what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, people start to see your work ethic and, how you cater to the class and the environment, and how you are catering to the work and to the environment and the space that you're in. And then they start to look at you through a different lens of like, oh,
Right.
You can actually be our poster child. You can be the one that we put out in the front spaces that says, "Oh, look, we are a diverse institution."
That's so crazy because
Yeah.
I was a poster child at one point at Boston Conservatory, and I got so much lashback, but then I also got support.
Yeah.
A lot of the other like black students in the dance department, there was some shade there. Like, why you?
Mm-hmm.
There was even a girl in my dance department who was like, they only chose you because you're the darkest one. You have natural hair. You're the most ethnic looking one. Yeah, it was crazy. And then there was and to promote diversity.
Right.
But do you feel like, because you're a very like culture body to a sense where you have studied African dances, hip hop, jazz, ballet, modern, all of these different types of dance styles, and these dances come from different cultures.
Yeah.
Do you feel like all of those things kind of amalgamate to the dancer that you are, like at all times? Like whether you're doing ballet, modern, jazz, hip hop, do they see all of those forms and styles in your body in every style you're dancing in?
I think I don't think it's something that they actually see and can recognize, because to me it's like, if someone actually doesn't really know or understand the movement language or the vocabulary or the influence that is put on your dancing, they're kind of not as informed. Like, I feel like coming from a space where I did so many different things, I have a very informed body, like a body that was a little bit more intelligent in a way, because not just because I just knew how to move my body differently, but because I could actually take certain tools and certain things that I learned in this one technique and apply it to something else. And that's basically what I'm doing now, being at the ballet. It's like, yes, I mean, I've studied classical ballet a lot, but I also studied so many other styles of dance to where maybe, in a modern class at Juilliard, they worded something in a particular way, and I actually can use that in the ballet to figure out, oh, okay, they're asking me to do this, and I know how to move my body in that particular way, but I can approach it as maybe a little bit as like how the modern dancer would approach it, because I actually have that information.
So you feel like you have the freedom to like bring those different cultural and social dances to this like European form of dance, style of dance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you felt that at Juilliard.
Absolutely.
And you feel, well, you just got to Boston Ballet, but is it your goal to continue doing that in your work? Because sometimes I feel like, especially when I was at Boston Conservatory training in ballet, it was like, oh, you're doing too much. Or, oh, that's just like too much port de bras, or this, I'm wondering, that felt to me a little like stripping away at what makes me unique.
Yeah.
And do you ever feel that way, or do you kind of just like look in the mirror, try and alter it, but still kind of maintain a certain sense of like cultural aesthetic?
I think at first I used to do, like, especially at Juilliard, I think I was doing that a little bit of like, let me kind of strip away a little bit of everything that I know, because I'm really, really trying to like fit into this like
it's almost like being in these predominantly white spaces ask you to strip some of your blackness away. And it's kind of uncomfortable, but it's not said. No. It's just like
it's very
unspoken. Yeah.
It's indirect, but it's very loud. Like it's a loud silence. And I think that I did do that at first, of like, oh, let me just be what they think that I should be, or what I think that they think I should be. But actually now, I can say that after going through 4 years at Juilliard, and even, being fresh at Boston Ballet right now, it's like, I'm starting to realize like that the small detail the small details that I had tried to forget about myself, that I'm actually telling myself to hold on to those things because they will make sense at some point.
Right.
Like those are going to be the things that separate me from everyone else that's still on the same path. Because I'm like, I mean, how boring is it to be in a space where everyone's exactly the same, everyone moves exactly the same, but there's no sense of uniqueness or individuality. So I just tell myself every day when I walk into the studio, just hold on to that small detail that you want to forget about yourself. Just hold on to it because it actually will be something that will, for one reason or another, come back around and be to your benefit. Like when a choreographer comes in or a director comes in, it's like, oh, well, you know, I'm seeing 50 dancers in front of me, but you right there's something going on here. I don't necessarily understand it.
Right.
It's maybe not exactly what I originally asked for, but something's different. And I think that's not something we should shy away from as artists or as African Americans in predominantly white spaces or people that are just different minded in general. Like just really embracing and accepting, okay, maybe I do to a certain extent have to fit into a certain mold. I mean, I feel like we all kind of have to do it. Like if you're in a certain space, you know what's kind of appropriate in that space. But that doesn't mean that you're confined to just that one school of thought. Like there are so many other influences that you can use and pull from to actually still make you a part of that environment, but an individual inside of that environment.
What I find so unique about you is that you work in these spaces and you are a professional dancer. You're also a professional choreographer. You're also starting that profession right now as a professional dancer. Would you talk a little bit about your vision behind your choreography?
Yeah. Choreographically, I really take my influences from a lot of different places, just because of all the training that I've had. You know, I've gotten to experience dancing a lot of different kinds of work and working with different choreographers. So I think that inherently it's just gonna come out in like my choreographic voice. Like, of course, I have my own things to say, but I think that a part of my having something to say means taking my experiences with that. So there's like the latest piece I choreographed at Juilliard. I was really playing with this idea of how we can challenge the status quo in institutions that have been around for a very, very long time. And so my idea was kind of that, okay, so, you know, there are things in the world that are staples, like things like religion and politics. Like there's a way and an order and a structure to all these things that's been done for hundreds of years.
Right, and they almost seem sort of untouchable.
Yeah. I mean, they're such a solid foundation themselves to where it seems like you actually can't ever question it or ask, why is it that we do these things? So this piece that I created, in my mind, I saw it like happening like in a church space. That I was in Paris and I went to this beautiful church that had like this incredibly long aisle, and I was like, how cool would it be if like an entire dance piece happened down this entire aisle until you got outside of the church? Like, and basically the whole point of the piece was to say like, yes, we've been inside of this very structured environment for a very long time, and we're actually choosing to go against it now. Like, and not to say that it doesn't have value, because things like that will never ever lose their power.
I like how you ask why and how you ask these questions. I personally didn't feel like I had the freedom to ask so many questions until I put myself in a space that demanded me, like grad school.
Yeah.
We had to ask why so many times.
Yeah.
And I actually found that you're actually closer to the answer. You're actually closer to figuring it out if you can construct the question in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
Because like if you don't have the question, then there's no answer.
Right.
Then there's no solution. There's no creative process.
Right.
You know, but if you can even form the question, and a lot of times it's as simple as asking this 3-letter word, why?
Yeah. But I think with that, a lot of the times what I would say is like I agree, like when you ask the questions, you actually are closer to finding out an answer because that means that the wheels are already turning.
Mm-hmm.
But I say to people all the time is that actually with things like questions or any information, once you actually hear yourself say it out loud, that's actually the aha moment. Like that's the light bulb moment. That's the moment where things begin to click because, you know, we get, especially as artists and as dancers, we get very inside of our head of like, oh, maybe I should do this.
Yeah.
Maybe, and we ask ourselves questions internally.
Yeah.
But I think there's something very profound about hearing yourself say something out loud.
Wow.
Whether it's to another person, whether you're looking in a mirror and saying like, I have a problem or I have a question, or like when you hear yourself say it, you actually can't apologize for it anymore because it's actually out in the open. It's in the space. You thought it, you said it, and you heard it. That's like those 3 things are happening simultaneously.
Right.
So it's like in those moments, like you're like, actually, okay, now I can kind of begin to make things happen because this is actually a real thing, and that's what I do in anything that I'm creating or anything that I'm dancing in. I always ask those questions, whether I'm asking the questions to the dancers I'm working with, the question to the choreographer, or just questioning myself of like, okay, I did that like that, why? Or what other options do I have, or what's at stake here? Like what's the most important thing, or what's actually the second detail? Like what's that one thing that like seems unattainable but is, and then being driven by that, like being driven by the fact that you're curious, like being like not that you're always going to get an answer, but being driven by the simple task of asking why. And I think that goes a lot further in what we do and what we've learned.
That really reminds me of queer theory and like studying queer theory.
Yeah.
And it's all about just being curious. You know, when people hear the word queer, they think of sexuality.
Sexuality, yeah.
And studying queer theory actually makes me think about and see everything in this more broad way because I'm curious. It's so interesting. I met the first person in my life who doesn't live by social norms this year. Mm-hmm. And every time this person would do something, I would think in my head, why is this person doing that? Why not do it this way?
Yeah.
And then I had to, when I started saying it out loud, I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's not even my words. That's actually just like what I've been taught.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are so stuck on believing what they've been taught. Mm-hmm. And in grad school, I had to learn that these are all things that I think I know, and these are all things that the people before me thought they knew. And like, if nobody is willing to push up against these social norms, then we as a people will never see ourselves as broad as we are, you know, or could be, or become, you know.
Yeah, I think it's that thinking that like when you reached the like opiate of like ability and you feel like you've worked to the optimum capacity, you then are kind of sometimes stuck in this one school of thought, in this one way of thinking. When you think that, when you think, I know all I need to know, I've learned all I can learn, that's actually the moment where you completely cut off any sort of openness or any sort of new idea to what it is that you can actually, what it actually is to keep developing and growing as an artist. Mm-hmm. And I think that with that, like a lot of our teachers or a lot of our mentors, you know, I've come to find out that as teachers, even like myself as doing some teaching and outreach things, is that we actually teach past what we most need to learn. So like, for example, I know as a dancer, there's certain things that don't really look good on me, or like that's not my line. I don't have a foot when I'm at this angle. So we teach past that point of error. Like we teach past, like we go beyond that and actually kind of bypass those moments of like, this is actually what I most need to learn as an artist, so I'm actually going to teach beyond that. Because either because I actually am a teacher that really wants you to gain an understanding and knowledge of what all this entails, or two, I just am going to teach past that because I really don't want to talk about that one thing that I actually most need to learn. So I'm just going to kind of like omit that and then go a little bit further. So it's something that's so interesting because as I watch my teachers teach, I actually learn a lot from that observation, because it then really makes me question of like, when you're teaching me this, is that coming out of your own personal experience, or is that coming from information that you actually learned when you were a student at 14 and that you believe because someone told you to? So it's really just kind of like a balance beam of like trying to figure out like, okay, how do I find my balance in this? Like, I'm getting that information over there, I'm getting this information over here, and how do I put that on a scale and stay balanced and stay moving forward? Like, it's so strange because I think that now as an adult, being in different spaces, that's the thing that makes me the least nervous when I go into new spaces with new teachers and new directors, because I'm like, it's all hearsay. Like it's all very, well, I do this way, I was taught to do it this way, so that's how it is. And it's like, okay, that's an option, and I don't feel so compelled or bound to this one way of thinking or this one way of doing things, because I know that it's all kind of like a give and take. And to know that, the information I'm receiving is so subjective that there's really no right or wrong in your level of artistry or where you are as an artist. Like, if that's where you are artistically, that's just where you are. Like, you can't really be faulted for that. Like, you can't be faulted for the things that you have not yet learned. Or you can't be faulted for the experiences that you've had, because that's your experience and that's your own personal journey. And that's something that, being at the ballet, I've been telling myself of like, this is my experience, and I can only experience it in the way that Michael is going to experience it, Yeah. So it's
that's
interesting.
Very beautiful. I was just getting ready to ask you, because we're wrapping up, and I was just getting ready to ask you what kind of advice would you give to choreographers of color or dancers of color who are working in these spaces? But you really literally just answered that. And I really feel like you're pushing the envelope in so many different ways, as a dancer, at the ballet, as a choreographer, at Juilliard. And these questions of why is so powerful. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
So thank you for for joining me.
I'm like, I'll always come for the food.
Right. This is how I kind of like trick my friends into
conversation,
having a conversation with me about art, because we don't like to always talk about these things, but I'm personally interested in creative processes and all the work that goes behind the scenes, the research, the questioning, all of those things are as important as the final product.
Movement is research.
Movement is research. Yes. Okay.
It is.
Thanks, Boo.
Of course.